Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to give an overview of the history of the Mario franchise, with a focus on the varying levels of exploration and freedom afforded by different titles within the series. I started writing it before Super Mario Odyssey was announced, and I was planning to conclude with my thoughts on where the series should go next, but now that the cap is out of the bag, so to speak, I'm going to talk about how Odyssey relates to earlier titles, and the ways that Odyssey should diverge from these games. Super Mario Odyssey marks a new chapter in Mario's generation-spanning saga, but also a return to a form of Mario gameplay that we haven't seen for several years. We have limited details about Odyssey at the present time, but it's clear that it will be a free-roaming 3D platform game in the style of Super Mario 64. For some fans, this has been a long time coming. People have been taking to internet message boards bemoaning the absence of a true 3D Mario game on the Wii U. Nintendo have even admitted that they view linear and sandbox Mario games as two separate product lines. Let's take a look back at Mario's history and how these two distinct gaming styles emerged. The first Super Mario Bros. Game on the NES was a pretty linear affair. Mario moved from the left to the right of each level, fighting enemies and avoiding obstacles. After completing one level, the player would move straight on to the next, and this cycle would continue until the game had been completed or the player had lost all their lives. Sure, there were occasional secrets and shortcuts to find, but the game never diverged from the simple series of sequential levels divided into 8 worlds. Sequels to Super Mario Bros. Would gradually introduce more options for how the players could progress through the game, with a combination of an overworld map with branching paths and secret exits leading to new levels. There were now many different routes that a player could take through the game. By Super Mario World on the SNES, these overworlds were huge and there were countless different possible playthroughs, including some that utilised secret paths to skip over entire worlds on the way to Bowser. Yet despite this, the core of the game remained largely linear. Mario needed to progress from the left to the right of each level, and completing one level opened the next. It wouldn't be until after the SNES that Mario took his next big leap. The Nintendo 64, along with the Sony PlayStation, opened new possibilities for 3D gaming. Up until this point, 3D had been something of a gimmick, and two-dimensional sprite-based games were the standard. While some platformers on the N64 and PlayStation stuck with the tried-and-true linear design expanded into 3 dimensions, Super Mario 64 was one of the first games to explore new styles of play. This iteration would see Mario exploring larger worlds hunting for the 120 power stars hidden throughout the game. Finding enough stars would grant the player access to new levels to explore. While not quite a free-roaming sandbox, this divergent style did grant the player considerably more freedom in how to play the game. No longer urged to progress to the end of a stage, the player would now explore open areas and follow clues to find stars. Some stars were located at the end of obstacle courses reminiscent of earlier games, but there were many other heterogeneous challenges to complete in order to find every star. Racing a giant penguin down an ice slide, hunting down and defeating boos in a haunted house, diving for treasure chests in a sunken ship. These are just a few of the different things that you could do in Mario 64. Players could move freely between any worlds that they had enough stars to access, meaning that there was now a near infinite number of possible routes to complete the game. Add to this that the game had no time limits, and enemies are generally much less threatening, and the title ends up feeling entirely different to the Super Mario games that came before. Super Mario 64 received unparalleled critical acclaim when it was released and became an instant classic, but it was not without its critics. Some players felt that being tasked with collecting items was essentially busy work, while others felt that the exploratory elements came at the cost of precision and skill required in earlier 2D games. Still others simply did not enjoy the polygonal graphics, much preferring the use of sprites. Yet despite these criticisms, Super Mario 64 laid the foundations for an entire generation of platformers on both the N64 and elsewhere. Developers such as Rare and Insomniac Games built bigger worlds to explore with new and innovative challenges. This style of adventure platforming even went full circle when Donkey Kong 64 included the original Donkey Kong within their game, a 2D platformer as a single challenge within a larger 3D game. Future installments of the Mario series would also follow on from Super Mario 64. In Super Mario Sunshine, Mario explores tropical islands to collect shine sprites. The game includes a water-based device called the Flood, which allowed Mario to explore the larger and more complex levels more easily. Now he could rush across long distances, boost up to high places, or hover across dangerous pits. In Super Mario Galaxy, Mario explored entire planetoids using innovative gravity mechanics and a suite of power-ups which granted new ways of traversing the stages. These games brought entirely new aesthetic styles to the Mario franchise, yet their core structure remained the same as in Super Mario 64, collecting items to open new non-linear worlds. Where mechanical changes were made, they were done so to facilitate the player's exploration. Over the early 2000s, classic Mario games were released on the Game Boy Advance, along with new entries in the Sonic franchise, and a host of original series. But when the Nintendo DS came out in 2004, it came with 3D capabilities and a remake of Super Mario 64 to prove it. For a time it had seemed like the era of 2D platforms was truly coming to an end, but the seeds of a new wave of Mario games had already been sown. In 2006, Nintendo released New Super Mario Bros. For the DS. This game harkened back to the classic style of linear progression in a two-dimensional plane. 8 worlds packed full of multiple levels linked together through a world map. A return of classic power-ups such as the mushroom and fire flowers. More crucially, the primary goal of each level was to reach the flagpole at the end, just like its 18 and 16-bit antecedents. Sure, you could now find star coins hidden across the stages, but these were more of an optional extra challenge rather than the main thrust of the game. After years of 3D platformers, this was a welcome return to a playstyle that had seemingly diminished over the previous decade. But New Super Mario Bros. Wasn't just a nostalgic kick, it was the start of a new wave of 2D Mario games. The series brought some great new additions, many of which riffed on the conventions of the NES and SNES titles. New Super Mario Bros. Gave players a giant mushroom that made Mario huge and allowed him to stomp through the stages like never before. New Super Mario Bros. Wii allowed for 4-person cooperative play, something that anyone who's played a 2D Mario game has yearned for. New Super Mario Bros. 2 encouraged players to collect tons and tons of coins. And New Super Mario Bros. For the Wii U had Squirrel Suit, I guess? Yeah, as time went by it began to feel as though Nintendo was churning out these very similar titles. What had happened to their experimental flair? What happened to the adventures that we remembered so fondly? It didn't help that the new 3D Mario titles also seemed to be getting more linear. Super Mario Galaxy 2 replaced the hub world with an old-fashioned world map, and the levels it contained were clearly less open than in previous 3D Mario games. So we see these two very distinct types of games emerge. If they weren't both Mario games, then they'd never be compared to each other. But being as they are, and with die-hard fans of both styles of gameplay emerging, how could Nintendo reconcile the two camps? Enter Super Mario 3D Land and its sequel Super Mario 3D World, Mario games with an isometric 3D style. The levels are small and episodic, and involve Mario and friends progressing to a flagpole at the end. But completing levels will only get you so far. To reach new sections of the game you'll also need to break through Bowser statues, and the only way to do this is by collecting green stars. These stars are hidden throughout each level and are obtained in much the same ways as in classic 3D Mario games, exploring the world for secrets, completing mini challenges, or by collecting coins. Even outside of the main levels you'll find challenge houses to collect extra stars, which are kind of like the secret bonus stars in Mario 64. There are subtler shifts towards the 3D Mario series as well. On first inspection, Super Mario 3D World's world map looks right out of the new Super Mario Bros. Title. Yet in this game the player can move freely around the map rather than along a predefined line. And if you want to collect everything, you'll need to go off-road and hunt for secrets around the corners of the maps. There are a variety of extra levels which break away from the isometric platforming that makes up the bulk of the game. For example, one level shifts to a top-down perspective and has you throw projectiles at waves of enemies in a pastiche of classic scrolling shooters. Another has you racing around a Mario Kart style track laden with speed boosts and power-ups. These extra levels are very reminiscent of the playful, experimental style that we saw throughout the 3D collect 'em up era. Did 3D World successfully reconcile the two camps? Well, not really. Despite Nintendo's efforts, message boards and even YouTubes are calling for a true 3D Mario game. 3D World made a small step in the right direction, but its linear levels were still far from the large areas seen in Sunshine and Galaxy. It'll take much more for many 3D Mario fans to be satisfied, but it seems like that may be what we're finally getting. We've only seen a few clips of Super Mario Odyssey so far, but it's clear that Nintendo are endeavouring to rekindle the joy of the 3D Mario games. It's not yet known whether Mario will be hunting for stars, but he will be exploring large areas with more freedom than he has been afforded in a long time. So what will Nintendo need to do to get it right with Super Mario Odyssey? 2D Mario has built up such a massive following, and it has been refined and tweaked so much that Nintendo basically have the mechanics down to a T. Aside from being unoriginal, there really isn't much you can say against New Super Mario Bros. Wii U. It's the culmination of over 25 years of platform games. The same can't really be said of 3D Mario. 64, Sunshine and Galaxy are all very different and all very experimental. Odyssey will build on these games, but it will once more be an experiment. There are certain things that should be carried over to the old games, but certain things that should be left behind. As much as fans of 3D Mario call for a true sequel to Super Mario 64, it would do them all a disservice to match 64's style too closely. Back in 1996, Mario 64's worlds seemed expansive, but by modern standards they're really quite small. Princess Peach's castle and all of its connecting areas are but a drop in the ocean of modern open world games like Grand Theft Auto or Fallout. Throwing together another series of areas linked by a central hub world, even if those areas are a lot bigger than anything in the Delfino Islands, wouldn't give anyone the experience they want. People want exploration, so give them a huge world to explore. Imagine an open world Mushroom Kingdom to the scale of Skyrim. Imagine, say, 500 stars spread across a vast continent, each requiring the player to complete unique challenges in order to obtain them. You could race Koopa the Quick all the way across Dry Desert, escort a baby penguin back to its mother through a huge mountain range, or just fly across the world with the wing cap. The Legend of Zelda is getting a truly open world reimagining, so why can't Mario do so as well? From the footage that we've seen so far, this remains a distinct possibility, but it's not yet clear whether Mario's airship will allow you to fast travel across one large world or link several smaller worlds together. But I wouldn't stop at having a huge world to explore. I'd want to see Mario change it. The worlds in previous 3D Mario games were impermanent. No matter what you did in Womp's Fortress, it would reset to its original state as soon as you left the level. Beyond opening new parts of the hub world, few of Mario's actions seemed to have long-lasting consequences. Yet there were a few occasions where completing certain objectives would progress the narrative of a given world. For example, finding the star hidden in the sunken ship in Jolly Roger Bay causes the ship to rise to the surface, allowing you to access new areas. Awakening the Wiggler in Gelato Beach would cause it to rampage around the bay upon your return. These instances were few and far between, but they could become much more commonplace in Odyssey. We live in a time where sandbox games like Minecraft allow players to reshape their entire environment. Mario's next game need not give players this level of control, but it would be welcome for Mario to have a greater and more enduring effect on the world around him. And finally, even if Mario did have a huge world to explore that he could alter by his own actions, it would be more fun if he wasn't alone. Playing cooperative multiplayer on New Super Mario Bros. Wii was an amazing experience. It fundamentally changed the way that we thought about the 2D Mario franchise. A recent mod of Mario 64 has demonstrated the possibility of cooperative 3D Mario, and the Switch could have enough power to really make it work with Odyssey. Cooperative play in Odyssey would revolutionise explorative Mario in the same way that New Super Mario Bros. Wii did for 2D Mario 8 years ago. So those are my thoughts on the history of the Mario franchise, and how Super Mario Odyssey will fit into it. Thanks for watching, and please let me know what you think in the comments.